Welcome into OutKick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I appreciate all of you hanging out with us wherever you may be across this great country or this great land. I will be on Fox Bet Live here in about 45 minutes. Just finished the second week Monday of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show. Encourage all of you to go subscribe. Make sure you don't miss a single day of that program. We got a lot to dive into. College World Series underway tonight. Vanderbilt against Mississippi State. I like Vanderbilt to win the College World Series. I also tonight like the under 7.5 runs as my best bet. Go ahead and tap the veins. That is the blood bank guarantee, everybody. So much to dive into here, but I want to start with those of you who did not see. I did a special show on Saturday to discuss the absurdity of NC State losing the opportunity to play for a championship, and I want to dive into that as my open here on this Monday. There's no way possible to justify the decision not to allow NC State to play. My wife and son right now are in transit on their way to Omaha to go sit in the crowd and watch the Vanderbilt and Mississippi State series. Sometimes I think to myself, I'd like to come back as one of my kids in my second life, because your boy here has got to always be working and they get to live and have all the fun. And so my family is traveling to Omaha. Now we'll be in Atlanta this weekend to go watch the Braves. So it's a fun baseball weekend for all of us. But there's no way to justify NC State being unable to play on Saturday against Vanderbilt. Details have continued to come out. There were 4 vaccinated players that tested positive for COVID, 4 unvaccinated players that tested positive for COVID as well. As a result of contact tracing and all that rigmarole, they were not able to play. So let me just say this right off the top. There is no way whatsoever, if you look at the science, to justify having over 20,000 fans present, not wearing masks, not that it would matter, but close proximity to each other, 0 checks for vaccination, nobody who is selling in the concession stands, nobody who is tailgating outside, nobody who is flying to or from Omaha is being required to either be vaccinated or to be tested for COVID. If you are young and healthy, as these baseball players are, they have virtually 0 risk from COVID at all. So the idea that you would hold out 4 vaccinated players who tested positive, or frankly, anybody who tested positive, given the fact that these kids are either asymptomatic or they're experiencing it at worst as a cold, is further proof that COVID protocols are broken in all of athletics. We don't need to be testing in high school. We don't need to be testing in college. We don't need to be testing in elementary school. We don't need to be testing in pro sports. None of them need a COVID policy any longer, because no athlete is under significant danger or any danger at all from COVID. We know this because of all the data we have after over a year worth of COVID testing going on. If you are elderly and you're a coach, get vaccinated. If you're over the age of 65, you should be vaccinated. All of those things should be occurring for people who actually have risk. But for young, healthy people, there is no way to remotely justify even testing, and there's certainly no way to justify over 20,000 fans being able to attend. Heck, the NC State baseball team could go sit in the crowd if they wanted to and watch Vanderbilt and Mississippi State play for the College World Series title, and that would be perfectly fine. But you're telling me they can't play on the field socially distanced? It's nonsensical. It's illogical. There is nothing that supports this being an intelligent decision that has been made by the NCAA. I feel bad for NC State. Wolfpack fans got screwed. It's not Vanderbilt's fault. It's not Mississippi State's fault. It's not anybody else's fault that this situation arose, other than having a bad protocol that is in place. 4 vaccinated players testing positive tells you everything you need to know about the fact that vaccination doesn't in any way guarantee that guys are going to be safe. Here's what I said from testing positive. If you're vaccinated, you should never be tested again. If you have COVID antibodies, you should never be tested again. Frankly, no one going forward should ever be tested again for COVID. But Vanderbilt and Mississippi State, all SEC College World Series. I have got the under, and I think Vanderbilt finds a way, especially tonight. I love the under with Leiter on the mound, but I think that Vanderbilt finds a way to win 2 out of 3 of these games, maybe 2 in a row. We'll see exactly what happens. U.S. hammer thrower Gwen Berry won the bronze medal and then was triggered when the United States anthem began to play. She turned her back to the anthem. She refused to in any way show any kind of respect for the United States anthem. I'd never heard of her. I didn't even know that the hammer throw was still something that people did. And to me, this is transparent and clear. She's trying to play the American sports fan and the American media in general. She wants to turn herself into Colin Kaepernick. She wants to become a martyr. She probably doesn't have a chance to win a medal. She's 31 years old. She saw that Nike decided to give Colin Kaepernick tens of millions of dollars and that Colin Kaepernick has become a martyr by cashing in on how awful the United States of America is. And now she wants to protest the anthem as well because she wants to receive praise in America. This is what woke capitalism is, by the way. Woke capitalism is making millions of dollars off of talking about how awful America is. Megan Rapinoe has cashed in, Colin Kaepernick has cashed in, and now this woman that none of you have ever heard of, I'm not going to mention her name again because clearly all she's trying to do is play America. The difference here is that unlike for Colin Kaepernick at least, who was just playing pro sports for the San Francisco 49ers when he began to kneel, this woman is actually representing the United States Olympic team. And a big part of the Olympics is when you win, them playing your anthem. And so there is a massive portion of the United States, 20 to 30% of the woke universe out there that wants to deride, denigrate, and basically demean the United States of America on the global stage. This is why, partly, the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, has said no countries should have athletes who are making statements politically during the Olympics because the Olympics is not supposed to be about politics. And by the way, you can see how this could turn into something really intriguing. For instance, what would happen if a United States Olympian took a knee during the playing of the Chinese national anthem? What would happen if someone from North Korea took a knee during the playing of the anthem of South Korea? It would turn into a major geopolitical tensions. That's one of the dangers of allowing the national anthem to play and it becoming in some way a referendum on politics. So the U.S. hammer thrower has decided that she wants to get paid like Colin Kaepernick. She wants to be a martyr. She probably on some level would love if the U.S. Olympic team did not allow her to make the trip, which is why I think the play here, ironically enough, we talked about this a little bit on the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton show earlier today. I think you ignore her. I think you don't allow her to hijack the overall Olympics. And whoever follows her and decides to make a statement, and whoever makes a statement after that, what these athletes don't realize is they're going to be used as propaganda by our biggest enemies in the world, in particular China and Russia. They are going to use whatever our athletes do on a global stage as evidence of how weak the United States is. See, China doesn't see speaking out against your country and ridiculing them on a national stage as a sign of strength. And so this is an important, I think, geopolitical lesson that most of our athletes don't understand. If your behavior is used globally to denigrate American values rather than uplifting them by protesting, what you are doing is giving ammunition to our enemies who see that as a fundamental weakness of our democracy, not a strength. And these guys and girls don't understand that their actions are being used to demean the United States on a global scale. So I think what we should do is not give all these people their 15 minutes of fame. We'll see whether or not we are able to do so, because I know the media loves being able to jump on this. But we'll see the second or the third or the fourth athlete who does this and undertakes this action. We are less than a month away from the Olympics actually beginning. I believe they begin on July 23rd, if I'm not mistaken. And so we will see what ends up happening. But I would say the Nikes of the world, the corporate woke politics, where you make millions of dollars by talking about how awful America is, doesn't exist anywhere else around the world. There's no one else who is able to become fabulously wealthy in their home country by talking about how awful their home country is. Put frankly, this doesn't exist anywhere else, and I think it is a flaw of our understanding of global politics that our athletes continue to undertake these actions. I want to tell you, erectile dysfunction affects over half of all men, but it doesn't have to make you feel like half of a man. Since 2017, My Dr. Hank's been making America hard again. That's their real slogan. My Dr. Hank helps you get low-cost ED meds and overcome the psychological and emotional barriers to getting ED treatment. They secure your prescription and then ship it to you discreetly every month from U.S. pharmacies, all for as low as $2 a pill. So don't wait. Join the movement to make America hard again. Go to mydrhank.com/clay and sign up today. Tell Dr. Hank I sent you, and he'll give you 50% off your first subscription order. That's mydrhank.com/clay. Offer available only for a limited time. You know there are 9.3 million open jobs in America right now? That's more open jobs than have ever existed in the recorded history of America's unemployment rate. Why do all those jobs exist right now? I think there's three reasons. One, unemployment benefits are wildly out of control. Two, I think a lot of people have bought into COVID fear porn and are terrorized still without being able to do actual math and understand the reality. Three, a lot of moms out there, because schools have been closed, because kids' activities aren't going on, they aren't having the ability to actually work. Women's employment rate is at a 30-year low in the United States. Almost no one is talking about it. But the primary reason, I believe, is these enhanced unemployment benefits. Yesterday, my boys wanted to go to Buffalo Wild Wings, one of their favorite places to go. It's not an advertisement, it's just the truth. They love to go as a family to Buffalo Wild Wings. We order food and drink. We sit. All the different screens around us are playing sporting events. And my boys love to just sit and be able to see all the different sporting events that are going on at once. So we walk into Buffalo Wild Wings. As we walk in, the lady at the front of the restaurant says, "You're welcome to be seated, but we're out of wings." Buffalo Wild Wings, out of wings. I said, "How do you not have wings?" And she said, "The people who deliver our product, they can't find enough people to work to be able to deliver our product." This is in the Nashville area where I live. Simultaneously, they are shutting down some of the Chick-fil-A's, believe it or not. That's an all-points bulletin of trouble. They are shutting down some of the Chick-fil-A's around me too, not just on Sundays, but on Saturday they were shut down as well. I also tried to go to another of our favorite restaurants. They are closed on Sunday now because they cannot find enough employees to work. This has become a major issue. I am a capitalist. I am a diehard capitalist. We have got to stop allowing the government to pay people not to work. In 19 blue states right now, according to the Wall Street Journal, a family of four, mom and a dad, 2 kids, can have $100,000 in income without needing to work at all. That is $100,000 in income with zero work. People say, well, you need to pay these guys more. It's not the paycheck that is the issue. When you are competing with people who are making $100,000 a year salary not to work, and even still in other states, $70,000 or more than the median income, people are making rational decisions to stay on their couch. And they have earnings. The Wall Street Journal reported today, when we had the Great Recession in 2008, $8 trillion in value was wiped out. American household value. During the past year, we have increased the overall wealth of American households by $13.5 trillion. We did not really have a recession at all. We basically froze the U.S. economy, paid people not to work, and still, all the way up into September, we are going to be paying people not to work. This is the awful precedent. The way that you end up becoming wealthy in this country, and I know a little bit about this, is not by relying on the United States government to take care of you. It's by relying on the only hand you can rely on. That's the one at the end of your sleeve. You can't rely on anyone else if you want to truly be wealthy. Capitalism has lifted more people out of poverty than any method of financial system that has ever existed in the history of the world. And when we basically are paying people not to work, what you will see is the economy overall grinds to a halt in many different industries because they are not able to maximize their revenue. So I thought that was an interesting story of what I'm seeing on the ground here in the Nashville area where I live. I talked about fear being a big part of why people are making these decisions. You know, this is unbelievable. According to a study that came out today, do you know what percentage of Democrats believe that COVID is over? 4%. If you think the Corona Bros are going to give up this easily, you're wrong. 96% of Democrats still believe COVID is a major issue because they have bought in to the government and also the media selling COVID fear porn over the past year. Many of these people are unwilling to go get jobs, even though they can now be vaccinated and even though their risk from COVID is virtually zero. Again, 59% of Republicans believe COVID is over. Just 4% of Democrats believe it's over. If you're wondering why you still have to wear a mask on an airplane, if you're wondering why some people are still double and triple masking, if you're wondering why Kamala Harris went to the border and even though she's vaccinated, she was still wearing a mask, it's because Democrats have bought in completely to COVID fear porn. They aren't looking at the actual data. They are buying into things that are fundamentally not true. I want to tell you now as we continue to roll, I love this opportunity here this summer as you get back outdoors. Take bespoke post on all your adventures with a new lineup of essential Box of Awesome collections for guys guaranteed to upgrade your life. I have gotten this already. They sent me a flask, which I love. They also sent me this fantastic box. They will hook you up as well, even a nice little leather wallet. This was all in the same Box of Awesome that I got. If you're trying to figure out what to get dad, what to get your brothers, what to get anybody in your life who may be difficult to shop for, why not sign them up for the Box of Awesome? All you have to do to go to boxofawesome.com, sign and take all the questions there. Your answers to their questions will help them pick the right Box of Awesome for you. They release new boxes every month across a ton of different categories, free to sign up, and you can skip a month or cancel anytime. Each box costs only $45, but has over $70 worth of gear inside. You can get 20% off your first monthly box when you sign up at boxofawesome.com. Enter the code CLAY, that's C-L-A-Y, at checkout. That's boxofawesome.com, code CLAY, for 20% off your first box. This hasn't gotten enough attention. Some people say, Clay, why do you care so much about the NBA and China? And this all started with me with Hong Kong when Daryl Morey came out and endorsed democracy in Hong Kong and in China. I can't believe more people aren't paying attention to this, but Apple Daily, founded by Jimmy Lai, it is a democracy-favoring newspaper in Hong Kong. It's now been shut by the Chinese government. Think about all of the talk about how important a free press is in the United States of America. China now has shut down the freest press in Hong Kong, Apple Daily, and they have put the owners of Apple Daily in jail. They have charged many of the top editors with violating criminal code in Hong Kong, which violates what's going on in China. They're even catching people as they try to leave the country now and escape who have been protesting in favor of democracy. Do you know how much we're hearing from all these athletes who claim they want to be on the right side of history? Zero. They've all gone silent. In fact, LeBron James is so focused on this that he's keeping his mouth shut so that Space Jam 2 can open in Beijing rather than LeBron speak out and say that he supports Chinese democracy around the world and supports democracy around the world. It's shameful. I think everybody needs to be taking notice of what's going on in Hong Kong and what has happened to Apple Daily, because beware, China could be next about to make a move on Taiwan. We have a strategic ambiguity there. Could lead to a major conflagration, major war because of the semiconductors that are created on Taiwan. There is a major battle brewing here. China considers Taiwan to be part of its ancestral homeland. They don't recognize the democracy in Taiwan, just like they don't recognize the democracy in Hong Kong. And they just took over Hong Kong without needing to fire a shot. Nobody stood up for Hong Kong democracy. Will anyone stand up for Taiwan democracy? It is an open question. Look out. This could turn into a major issue going forward. This is also crazy. Scottie Pippen has gone off the deep end. I don't know exactly what's happened with Scottie Pippen. Maybe he's got migraines again like he did back in the day when he had a lot of big game sevens. But Scottie Pippen said today on Dan Patrick's show that Phil Jackson is racist. Phil Jackson, the most successful basketball coach in the NBA of most of our lives, 6 titles with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and the Bulls. Huge defender of Scottie Pippen for years and years. Remember old school when Phil Jackson designed a play for Tony Kukoc instead of Scottie Pippen. He refused to go into the game. Scottie Pippen came in and hit the winning shot, but Kukoc hit the winning shot while Pippen stayed on the bench. Pippen now is saying that Phil Jackson designed that shot for Tony Kukoc because, you guessed it, Phil Jackson is racist. Scottie Pippen is a fraud, okay? Here's what's going on. It's so incredibly in vogue to call any old white guy a racist that Scottie Pippen is following the charge here. If Phil Jackson is racist, and he's the most successful racist basketball coach since Adolph Rupp, by the way, this is such an outlandish and absurd allegation to make, particularly at this point in time, years and years, long after we had already seen everything taking place with the Chicago Bulls. I think it's pathetic on Scottie Pippen's part. Phil Jackson deserves better. I'm curious whether any other Bulls will find the need to step up and defend Phil Jackson from these accusations, but it's just absolutely ridiculous. Finally, speaking of ridiculous, they have turned, the left has, on Bill Maher because he is not sufficiently woke. Now that Trump's not in office, Bill Maher has been willing to speak out a bit more than he had in the past. And Bill Maher came out and said that all sorts of these COVID restrictions and absurdity that have been embraced by the woke brigade don't make any sense. The most recent one that got people fired up at MSNBC was he said Lin-Manuel Miranda, I think is his full name, who basically did Hamilton, doesn't have to apologize for his new movie In the Heights, which people are criticizing because it doesn't have enough dark-skinned characters. And Bill Maher defended him and said, you have no basis to need to apologize. Don't grovel to these people. And one of the top commentators at MSNBC said, quote, Bill Maher is an angry white man. Why does Bill Maher's race matter? If you say about anybody else, oh, that's just an angry black woman. Oh, that's just an angry black man. Oh, that's just an angry Hispanic man, Hispanic woman, Asian man, Asian woman, or whatever else. It's called racist. Yet MSNBC has perfected this art form, which has been followed by MSESPN, into the ridiculous spot where they now criticize people, not based on their opinions, which is fine, but based on their race. This is a fundamental failure. And speaking of failure, let me reiterate what an idiot Jalen Rose is for his criticisms of Kevin Love. The NBA roster for the Olympics has officially come out. I'm going to be honest with you, it's fairly weak top to bottom. A lot of the top players did not want to play, and so U.S. basketball doesn't have the strongest roster it ever has had before. But Jalen Rose said that Kevin Love was there as a token. Now, if somebody says that there's a black hockey player there as a token, and it was a white guy, be fired, never worked again. Somebody said a Ryder Cup had a minority and he was there as a token. White guy says it never works again. Jalen Rose gets almost no criticism except from people like me. But it's not just that Jalen Rose's opinion is racist, it's that it's also dumb. Rose said America was afraid of having an all-black Olympic team, except there was an all-black Olympic team in 2000, 2004, 2008, and 2016. Rose said that Kevin Love shouldn't be on the team, but DeAndre Ayton should be on the team. The problem with that is DeAndre Ayton is not an American citizen. He's actually from the Bahamas. So in addition to being racist, Jalen Rose is also incredibly stupid when it comes to this opinion. Yet, I will be almost the only person in all of sports media that you hear ripping Jalen Rose. Do you know why? Because everybody is afraid of getting labeled what Bill Maher just did, an angry white man. How dare a white guy have an opinion about something that involves someone else other than white people. This is the absurdity that we have created, this critical race theory, broken universe. Bill Maher didn't say anything wrong. Jalen Rose, absolute idiot when it comes to his argument about Kevin Love. I appreciate all of you. Tomorrow on the program, second hour, first guest on the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton show, Donald Trump will join us, and he will be talking hopefully for a prolonged period of time. Should be a fun time. Our first guest on the program, that will be on tomorrow in the second hour of the program. I now am going to hop out of this chair, hop over to my other chair, and be on television at 4 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Mountain, 2 o'clock Pacific with Fox Bet Live. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. This has been OutKick the Show.